joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Torrential downpours are pounding South Korea's capital city and Gyeonggi-do province. The government has activated Level 3 emergency operation of the disaster response headquarters for the first time this year. South Korea's Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Company has been chosen as a preferred bidder to build 2 nuclear power units in the Czech Republic that are worth over 17 billion US dollars. Now, it's the first time in 15 years that South Korea has secured an overseas nuclear power plant construction project. And U.S. stocks were mixed on Wednesday, with the Nasdaq plunging as tech firms faced pressure over worries about U.S. export curbs on China and Donald Trump's stance on Taiwan. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, though, closed at yet another record high. With the torrential downpours now battering the capital region, heavy rainfall warnings have been issued across Seoul and the surrounding areas as of this morning. Our Kim Jong-sil is standing by at the Jamsugyo Bridge on the Hangang River. Jong-sil, every year Jamsugyo Bridge is seen as a barometer of how much rain is pouring down. How's the situation over there at the moment?
Tommy, as you said, I am standing on the Jamsugyo Bridge, and I don't know if you can see on my right side is where you can see the water level of Hangang River that has risen since last night's overnight torrential rain. It has already reached 5.23 meters as of around 10 a.m. this morning. That is 10 centimeters rise from the hour before, right before 9 a.m. So the water level is continuing to rise as we speak. And the bridge also is the one that connects Seoul's Seocheogu district to Yongsan-gu district. And just past 7 a.m. this morning, the bridge was closed for pedestrians to walk by. And there have been policemen out here from 7 a.m. as well that have been running to pedestrians and stopping them from crossing the bridge because it has already banned. Now, the ban limit for pedestrians take place when the water level reaches 5.5 meters, but the police officials have said that they took preemptive measures to prevent any possible damage. Now, as you can see, cars are still passing by because the water level hasn't reached the limit of 6.2 meters, but if it exceeds that, the cars will be banned from crossing this bridge as well. And the weather authorities issued heavy rain warnings for Seoul and surrounding metropolitan regions, including most of Gyeonggi-do province and Incheon, as well as northern Gangwon-do province and Chungcheongnam-do province. As of 10 a.m., 30 to 60 millimeters of rain has been detected in these regions I mentioned, with some areas in southern Gyeonggi and Chungcheongnam-do seeing more than 70 millimeters of rain. And if more than 50 millimeters of rain falls, it compromises the vision for driving. So it is advised to take public transportation when it's absolutely necessary to go outside.
Indeed. Well, make sure you stay safe there, Jong-sil. But let's also talk about evacuation orders. What do we know so far?
Tommy, Osan City in Gyeonggi-do province officials have alerted its residents living near the Osan stream that is in the city to evacuate to shelters this morning. That came right before 10 a.m. As the Tapdongdaegu Bridge, that is the bridge that's in the city, the water level of that bridge has risen to 4.91 meters before 10 a.m. and it far exceeding the flood limit meters of 4.2. So residents are taking evacuation as we speak. And the government Central Disaster and Safety Headquarters countermeasures headquarters has entered level 2 out of level 3 for this weather situation as well. The HQ announced this morning that 300 people have been unable to return home in Chungcheongnam-do, Gyeongsangnam-do, and southern Jeollanam-do provinces. 129 cases of road damage and 161 cases of flood damage have been reported as of 6 a.m. Now, as of 9:30 a.m. this morning, no human casualties have been reported, but the torrential rain has taken at least 5 lives and more missing throughout the past week. So definitely more caution is needed. That's all I have for this hour, but I will bring you more updates in the later newscast.
So the season's heaviest monsoon rain has been lashing down in the capital area since overnight, dropping 40 to 70 millimeters an hour, with northern parts of Gyeonggi-do hit the hardest, receiving more than 600 millimeters of rainfall since yesterday. And southern provinces are also seeing 20 to 30 millimeters an hour of heavy rain. And rain is forecast to pick up through the mid-afternoon in central regions. And until tomorrow, the capital area and northern parts of Gyeonggi-do could see more than 180 millimeters of torrential showers. In Jeollabuk-do province could see 150 millimeters. So heavy rain alerts have been expanded to more parts of central regions, and a flood watch is also in place for the capital area. Landslide advisories and warnings have been issued across the central regions by local authorities. Meanwhile, a landslide crisis alert issued by the Korea Forest Service is at the highest level, serious, in the capital area and Gangwon-do province today. So please, safety should really come first today.
And in other news, South Korea looks close to clinching a deal with the Czech Republic to build 2 nuclear power units in the Central European country, as a consortium led by KHNP was selected as the preferred candidate for the project. Our Oh Soo-young has the details.
South Korea's state-run power giant has been named the preferred bidder to build at least 2 nuclear plants in the Czech Republic, marking a major feat for the country's budding export industry and President Yoon Suk-yeol's sales diplomacy. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said Wednesday that a South Korean consortium led by Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power won the hotly contested tender to build reactors at the Dukovany power plant, beating France's EDF in all criteria assessed. Fiala said 2 more reactors could be built at the Temelin plant. South Korea's presidential office expressed gratitude for Prague's decision in a briefing Wednesday evening.
This makes KHNP the preferred bidder for the construction of 2 Dukovany nuclear reactors, and if the Czech government decides to proceed with the construction of 2 Temelin reactors, KHNP will also be the preferred bidder. This comes 15 years after winning the country's bid to build the UAE's Barakah nuclear power plant in 2009, and it will be the foundation for our exports to Europe, the origin of commercial reactors.
The 2 new 1,200 megawatt units will cost about $8.6 billion each, according to the Czech government, with the final deal signed by March next year. Seoul attributed the success to the solid trust between the two sides, built over 34 years of diplomatic relations, and public-private cooperation between businesses, industry workers, government officials and citizens involved in Team Korea's bid, offering low construction costs, top safety and technological standards, to deliver completion on time within budget, as shown by the Barakah nuclear project in the United Arab Emirates. Since his inauguration in 2022, President Yoon Suk-yeol has actively promoted South Korea's nuclear power exports, holding more than 150 summits with 100 leaders of government. His office noted that he'd met the Czech Prime Minister on 3 occasions, including in Washington, D.C. last week, and even sent a letter presenting a vision for bilateral cooperation in nuclear energy. The Czech Republic aims to phase out coal by 2033 and increase its energy security by expanding nuclear power production. KHNP's APR 1000 reactor can produce around 1.2 times the annual power consumption in Prague, according to Seoul's Trade Ministry. A presidential official said Seoul hopes that securing its bid to work on the Czech Republic's plants will lead to more opportunities in the European markets, boosting investment and employment in South Korea's nuclear power ecosystem. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
The former North Korean diplomat who defected and became a South Korean lawmaker, Tae Yong-ho, has been nominated to lead South Korea's Peaceful Unification Advisory Council. This came as President Yoon carried out a mini reshuffle of government officials on Thursday. According to Yoon's office, Tae Yong-ho's first-hand knowledge of North Korea and his experience in South Korean politics is expected to contribute to Seoul's policies aimed at peaceful unification with the North based on liberal democracy. Yoon also nominated a new Minister for Science and ICT, Yoo Sang-im, who is a professor for material science and engineering at Seoul National University. Other appointees include a Presidential Secretary for SMEs and Startups, Kim Sung-sub, as the new Vice SMEs Minister, and Nam Hyung-gi as Second Vice Minister of Government Policy Coordination. As the training hospitals across the country have begun processing the resignations of trainee doctors who walked out in February, around 10,000 junior doctors will have left the hospitals. The government now plans to receive applications from hospitals to fill the shortage of trainee doctors, with recruitment scheduled for the second half of the year. Lee Seung-jae reports.
This past Monday was the deadline for trainee doctors to respond to whether or not they'll return to work after months of collective action in response to the government's medical school admissions quota hike. Training hospitals were told to process the resignations of junior doctors who refuse to return or don't respond by Monday's deadline. According to the Ministry of Health and Welfare, the resignation rate of trainee doctors at 211 training hospitals nationwide stood at 12.4% as of Tuesday. As of the same day, the resignation rate at the so-called Big Five hospitals in Seoul was even higher, at 38.1%. Those numbers are set to jump significantly throughout the week as resignations continue to be processed. Once all the resignations are processed, it's expected that some 10,000 junior doctors will have officially quit, leaving a massive vacuum in the country's medical system. To fill the shortage of doctors due to the mass resignations, the government will communicate with hospitals to determine recruitment needs for the second half of the year. The government will begin accepting applications next Monday, with the number of new hires to be announced in September. While the government hopes to persuade the trainee doctors who have quit to return through the second half of recruitment, representatives at the Korean Intern Resident Association aren't looking to cooperate, instead warning of legal action against hospital directors for processing resignations. Medical professors are also slamming the training hospitals, arguing that they should not unilaterally decide on the processing of the resignation, but should have gone through sufficient discussion with the trainee doctors. The government on Thursday will hold a meeting chaired by Second Vice Health Minister Bang Min-soo, and is expected to announce the number of vacancies at each hospital while continuing with its plans for recruitment for the second half of the year. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
U.S. President Joe Biden tested positive for COVID-19 while on the campaign trail in Las Vegas on Wednesday, and, according to the White House, has mild symptoms. Biden met with supporters in Las Vegas on the same day, but later canceled an appearance at a Latino civil rights organization event in the city. Instead, he boarded Air Force One to return to his residence in Delaware for self-quarantine. With the incumbent president facing questions from lawmakers within his own party over his ability to lead, an AP NORC poll released on Wednesday showed that the majority of Democrats want Biden to drop out of the 2024 presidential election race. Nearly 70% of the Democrats responded that he should withdraw and a different candidate should be nominated. And in the face of potential escalation of U.S. trade conflicts in China, Wall Street closed with a mixed day on Wednesday. The tech-heavy Nasdaq plunged nearly 3%, while the Dow Jones hit another record high. Yoon reports.
On Wednesday, chipmaker company shares plunged on Wall Street amid increasing speculation over the U.S. considering strengthening semiconductor export restrictions against China. President Joe Biden's administration has moved to implement strong restrictions on Chinese access to cutting-edge chip technology, with such reports heightening investor concerns. With major semiconductor stocks seeing massive sell-offs, the Nasdaq fell 2.77% or 512.41 points to record its largest single-day drop in 19 months. AI semiconductor giant NVIDIA fell more than 6%, while AMD dropped more than 10% on the day. But Robert Konzo, CEO and managing director of investment advisory firm The Wealth Alliance, suggests a big tech pullback is not all bad news.
We're looking for a broad market change, and you're starting to see, the word is rotation. Rotation out of these big names into areas that we were talking about for a while now, i.e. small caps. Now, let's not kid ourselves. These large tech numbers are still up huge for the year, right? NVIDIA is up 140+% year to date. Even though it pulled back, it's still big. But it's nice to see some of these other areas coming into play. So,
on the other hand, the Dow Jones jumped more than 243 points, or 0.59%, to close Wednesday's trading session at 41,198.08. It marks the first time the index surpassed the 41,000 mark. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, seeking to regain the presidency in November, told Bloomberg Businessweek that Taiwan should pay the United States for its defense, which pushed U.S.-listed shares of the world's largest contract chipmaker, TSMC, down 8%. 이은진, Arirang News.
As the Paris Olympics countdown begins, all eyes are fixed on South Korea's dominant archery team, given their strong presence in the sport. Our Yoon brings more.
At the heart of Paris lies the sprawling green lawns of Esplanade des Invalides. This is where South Korean archers will be aiming for gold at this year's Paris Olympics. Kim Woo-jin, Kim Jae-deok, and Lee Woo-seok in the men's recurve, and Im Si-hyun, Chun Hoon-young, and Nam Soo-hyun in the women's recurve, who will be making their Olympic debuts.
For us, this is our first Olympics, and we've put in extra effort to get good results. We've worked diligently, hoping that our efforts can lead to a successful outcome.
The South Korean archery team has created an unparalleled legacy by clinching at least one gold at every Summer Olympics since 1984. After winning 4 gold medals at the Tokyo Olympics out of the 5 events, Team Korea's goal this time is to secure at least 3. The spotlight is on the women's team competition, striving for their 10th consecutive gold medal. One thing that makes South Korean archery so strong is known to be their thorough training regimes, which incorporate advanced techniques and training with robots. Competing against these emotionally neutral robots is to strengthen the athlete's psychological resilience. The archers also trained in simulated settings, such as football stadiums with large crowds and under different weather conditions. Now it's almost time for their hard work to pay off, and they'll have the backing of their nation.
To our athletes, instead of dwelling too much on the medals, I believe valuing the process and hard work is more important. I hope you give your all and enjoy the journey. Go Team South Korea!
I hope all the athletes' hard work pays off. Good luck.
With their exceptional skill and unwavering support from their fellow citizens, archers for Team Korea are poised to write yet another chapter in Olympic history.
I hope this Olympics becomes a venue where people worldwide can connect and share moments of joy and sorrow together.
이은희, Arirang News.
K-pop music accounted for more than half of the best-selling compact disc albums in the U.S. in the first half of this year. That's according to the 2024 Mid-Year Music Report by Illuminate, an entertainment data tracking company which said that K-pop music dominated 6 spots on the U.S. top CD album sales from the end of last year through June. Tomorrow by Together, better known as Tuba2, claimed second spot with nearly 200,000 sales, trailing Taylor Swift, who topped the list with sales above 1 million. Now, other K-pop artists featured include ATEEZ, Twice, Stray Kids, and Hyphen and 17. The Paris Opera Ballet, one of the most prestigious ballet companies in the world, is holding a gala performance here in Seoul from this weekend. Our cultural correspondent Song Yoo-jin offers us a sneak peek at the show.
With more than 3 centuries behind it, the Paris Opera Ballet is the world's oldest national ballet company. Its finest dancers have come to Korea for the company's second gala performance in the country. Leading the ensemble is Korean ballerina Park Se-eun, who in 2021 became the first Asian dancer to be promoted to étoile, the company's highest rank.
Seoul Arts Center is my favorite stage in Korea. I had the chance to perform several times here about 13 years ago, and I still remember the excitement and thrill I felt on that stage. I'm really looking forward to experiencing those emotions again.
This gala is all the more special to Park as it's her first performance in her home country since becoming a mother. Beyond performing, Park took on the role of producer, carefully selecting the repertoires and dancers for the show.
Preparation was tough since all of our dancers had a busy season with the company. I had to work on the gala bit by bit in my spare time, but I wanted to create the best program possible. Looking back, it's all been worth it.
A total of 10 dancers, including Park, will perform 18 pieces. Among them are lesser-seen works in Korea, such as The Vertiginous Thrill of Exactitude by William Forsyth and Jose Martinez's Mi Favorita.
Typical gala performances focus on technical feats like multiple twirls or high jumps to excite the audience, but I didn't want that. I hope the audience can feel a swirl of emotions that words or letters can't express after watching our program.
Park's visit to Korea this time isn't just about dazzling on stage. It's also about inspiring the next generation of dancers. She, along with fellow étoile Paul Mark, will hold a one-day class for young ballet dancers next Monday.
We want to share how we learn and dance at French ballet schools and within our company. I hope this gives them a chance to experience the French ballet style.
Many young dancers aspire to join our company and often ask how to get in. Our company has changed a lot, even in the 13 years I've been there, so I can't definitively say what Paris Opera Ballet looks for now. But I want to share my experience so they can find their answers.
The Ballet Gala of Étoile in Paris will take to the stage 4 times, starting this Saturday at the Seoul Art Center's Opera Theater. 송유진, Arirang News.
One of the country's biggest economic events is underway on the southern resort island of Jeju, discussing the latest socio-economic issues facing South Korea, as well as the government's policy directions going forward. Our Moon Hae-ryun is there and files this report.
With the country facing continued high interest rates, consumer prices and exchange rates as it enters the latter half of the year, the government aims to revitalize the economy into something dynamic. The 47th edition of the Jeju Forum, hosted by the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, kicked off on Wednesday, gathering experts, industry insiders and government officials together. During the opening ceremony, SK Group Chairman Cha Tae-won discussed the changing economic landscape with new emerging technologies.
It's impossible to talk about anything without talking about AI. Technology has become specialized with a few dominating the market, and contingency plans are needed for this.
Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok followed up with a speech on the current economic environment amid geopolitical risks in the Middle East and the war in Ukraine, and how they affect South Korea.
From what I understand, national and economic security are one. There's no high-tech economic cooperation between countries without security cooperation.
This comes following President Yoon Suk-yeol's participation in the NATO summit last week, acknowledging the connection between Indo-Pacific and Euro-Atlantic security. Earlier this month, the government unveiled its economic policy plans for the latter half of the year, which showed a focus on vulnerable groups such as small business owners, pledging to spend nearly 25 trillion won or over $18 billion to provide financial support as well as a one-stop platform that provides necessary information.
The current problem that small business owners face isn't something that can be solved by just extending the deadline for debt repayments. It's a structural issue and the burden of high interest rates.
He also reaffirmed the government's plans to revitalize domestic demand and lay down a more positive view of the economy going forward, with a newly revised economic growth projection from 2.2% to 2.6% for 2024.
Some 600 business leaders and representatives have gathered here on Jeju Island to discuss 4 central themes relevant to South Korea's industrial landscape today. The 4-day forum is scheduled to run until Saturday. 문혜련, 아리랑 뉴스 제주.
That's all we have at this hour. Arirang News will be back at 2 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.